everyone. My name is Charlie Greene. I'm the co-founder and the CEO of Remento. On behalf of our entire team, I am so grateful that you have made the time to be with us today. We have a lot of ground to cover today. I want to start out by sharing a little bit of context about why we set out to create Remento in the first place. Then we're going to do a deep dive into how the product actually works, from selecting prompts to recording stories to ultimately preparing a book for printing. And then we are so lucky today because we have two incredible customers who are joining us who have very generously offered to provide reflections about their own experience using Remento. And then we have a little surprise product announcement. We are going to be releasing today actually the number one feature we've heard from customers that they're looking for. So stay tuned for that. And then last but not least, we've reserved space for a Q&A, which will be an opportunity for each of you to submit your questions. So with that administrative bit out of the way, I'd like to transition to an overview of the why behind Remento. Each of us on Team Remento has a different reason for caring about the preservation of family stories. And for me personally, is my own passion for the space stems directly from personal experience. It was 9 years ago that my mom was diagnosed with lung cancer. And after hearing about that diagnosis, I remember being absolutely terrified that she may never have the chance to meet her grandchildren. And having lost my dad just a couple days after my 10th birthday, I knew personally from firsthand experience how painful it was to one day wake up and be without someone you love so much. And also how much I would have given in the years after he passed away to be able to hear his voice just one more time. And so right before my mom started her chemotherapy, we sat down to record a series of her best stories. We were in effect creating a time capsule of her legacy, which was going to be designed to introduce her to her family in the event that she couldn't do so herself. And frankly, what I thought I'd capture in those recordings were the stories I'd grown up hearing all my life. But what blew me away was just how much I learned from those conversations, from moments in her career that she had never talked about to the stories of falling up in love with my dad that just had simply never come up. And it was as I reflected on those conversations, I couldn't help but ask myself, why had it taken a cancer diagnosis for me to really get to know my mom? And with multiple cameras in my pockets at all times, why had I never thought to record those stories for the future, just in case? And so I was reflecting on that experience from which the vision of Remento was born, which is to help families celebrate and preserve and protect the stories of those we love by making it delightfully easy to document the memories that have made each of us who we are today. Now, as many of you know, our flagship product is our Remento books, which we refer to as the No Right Memoir. And that's because the final product is a hardcover, color-printed keepsake that is full of life stories, all created without having to write a single word. So with that overview, I would love to transition into a somewhat deeper dive into how Remento actually works. For those of you who have been using Remento extensively, this will be a review. And for those who are considering using Remento in your own family, I hope that this makes it clear that what we are focused on doing is trying to find a really simple and straightforward way to preserving legacy in a way that can be cherished by family many years into the future. So to get started, you can go to our Remento site by typing in remento.co or just Googling the word Remento. And then from this screen, you can press login at the top right part of the page. And that is going to invite me to sign into what is a fully private account. Now, for many things that you log into, you need a password. But at Remento, we actually don't rely on passwords, but instead rely on the security of your email to protect your account. Right, so once you type in your email address into Remento, we will email you a unique and private link And when you click on that link in your email, you'll be directed directly into your private Remento website. And that's exactly where I've landed right here. Now, it's worth noting that the experience I'm walking through right now is a demo, and it's a demo that's happening on a computer. But everything that I'm talking about going forward can actually be done from any device, whether that's a laptop or an iPad or a smartphone, anything that is connected to the internet. Now, right now I'm looking at the prompts page, and that's because in this demo, I'm a host for my mom, Claudette, who I purchased Remento for. And that means I have the opportunity to customize her experience by selecting prompts that she'll respond to over the course of the year that she'll have access to Remento. So step number 1 is to pick what I want to learn about. So I'm going to press Add Prompts in the upper right-hand corner, and I'm presented with 3 different options. The first option is to upload a photograph, meaning that my mom will be asked to reflect on an image, whether that's a photograph of her childhood, or a picture of a family trip, or a photo of a family heirloom. The second option in the middle is to select a question from our question bank, and then the last option is to create a poll among friends and family to learn exactly what others want to hear from your storyteller. So I'm going to go ahead and press Add a Question, which is going to bring me to the Remento question bank. Now, at Remento, we have teamed up with a series of professional storytellers and also memory scientists to develop these questions, which are designed specifically to simulate the recall of unique and specific and often overlooked memories. So I'm going to begin by clicking on the childhood category, and you can see that Remento makes it really easy for me to pick and choose which questions I want to add. Now, in this case, I'm picking these questions for my mom, but if I had bought Remento to document my own stories, the process would be the exact same. Now, once I'm satisfied with the selection, I can click Next, and I see that those questions are now added to my mom's queue. That means the first prompt in the list will be sent to her this coming Wednesday, and the next prompt will be sent to her the following Wednesday. Now, I'll go back in and add a photograph. I click on Add Prompts again, and then select the Upload a Photograph option. Now, on this page, I can see that there are actually a few different ways to add a photo. I can add a photo from Facebook. I can add a photo from Instagram. Photos can be added directly via connection to my Google Drive or my Dropbox account, or I can manually add a photo to Remento. And that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to go ahead and manually add a photo that I have on my desktop. It's a photo of my parents from their wedding day. I think unlike my wife, who I think her and I have about 6,000 photos from our wedding day, my mom and dad have a total of 6. So I picked one of those 6. And if I wanted my mom to receive that photo before the 2 other question-based prompts I've selected earlier, all I have to do is click and drag that photo to the top of the queue. So now my sister actually has a ton of photos of my mom's childhood. So I'm going to invite her to add some of those to my mom's queue as well. To do that, all I have to do is navigate to the Invite button at the top of the screen, and then I can add her email address and press Invite. Now that is going to make her a collaborator on my mom's project, which means she can pick prompts and will be notified every time my mom creates a new story. Now, speaking of new stories, I want to bring you over to what my mom will experience as a storyteller on Remento, which is the same whether she received Remento as a gift or had purchased it for herself. So you can see in the screen we're now looking at, it's actually an iPhone. And she's just received a new message from Remento that it's time to record a new story. Now, for the record, my mom is signed up for both SMS text messages as well as emails. So she'll receive a notification when it's time to record via both text and email. And when she clicks on that notification and then clicks through the message itself, you can see that she's brought directly into the Remento recording studio. Now you notice that she's greeted by name without any logins or without any logins, downloads, or passwords. And that's because the recording experience is accessed via a secure link that she was sent, meaning she can start her private recording in just a few taps. And now for the record, this experience can be done on any device whatsoever, including your smartphone or tablet or laptop. Now she can go ahead and press continue, and you'll see that the photo that I uploaded from my desktop is on her screen, along with the request to tell Remento if she wants to record video or audio only. Now, one of the things that we hear from our customers all the time is that they don't want to record their video, whether it's a bad hair day or bad lighting. Everyone seems to have a reason, and I'll tell you, I'm doing this webinar, but there are plenty of days where I don't feel like being on video. And frankly, that is a shame, because when we talk with Remento families, they tell us time and again how thankful they are to have videos recorded of their storytellers. So to all of my 418 storytellers on the call today, please consider when you're recording next time trying a video, it will be a gift for your family. So my mom selects video and then is being taken to a page where she can see a big red button that says start recording. And whenever she is ready, she can press that button, and after a 3-second countdown, she is recording. Now, she can record for up to 30 minutes in a single session. And whenever she is done talking, she can press stop recording. And from here, she can watch the recording. She can decide if she wants to retake the recording, or she can submit it. And in this case, she did an amazing job. So she'll press submit, and that is it for this story. Now, if she wants to, she does have two other options. First, she can record another story. She might want to catch up on prompts that she may have missed in the last couple of weeks, or respond to some of the prompts that are trending on Remento, or she can add prompts of her own, whether it's a photograph that she wants to talk about or a question that she's excited to answer. Or she can view her stories, which will move her from the recording experience that she's in currently back to the fully private website where her stories actually live. Now, let's bring it back to my world. Because she has submitted a recording, I, along with all of the collaborators, receive an email letting us know that there's a new story to check out. And you can see that Remento has automatically summarized the content of her recording and is inviting me to play the entire recording. Now, of course, I want to watch this, so I naturally click the button and am brought into my private Remento website. And here you have it. On the left side, you can see my mom speaking about this photograph, and on the right side, you can see that Remento has taken her recording and transcribed it word for word. You can see that the first sentence reads exactly the way the words came out of her mouth. And that is because when I set up Remento for my mom, I indicated that I wanted Remento to provide her words exactly as she said them. But that is not my only option. If I click on the star next to edit story on the bottom right, I can see that I actually have a few different options. So right now you can see that cleaned transcript is selected by default, but I can change the story perspective to either first person or third person. So if I select first person, that means that our speech to story technology is going to take her words and then turn them into a polished story written as if she had been writing it herself. And you see that I can also change the length too. The other option is third person, which also will turn her words into a polished story, but it'll be written as if a biographer had written the text for her. And that version, you'd expect to read a sentence like, Claudette remembers being thrilled on her wedding day, rather than I remember being thrilled on my wedding day. So I've selected first person, so I'm going to go ahead and have Remento automatically regenerate that story. And that's exactly what you're seeing happen on the screen right now, creating a polished format in the first person resembling what it would sound like if my mom wrote the story out by hand. Now, if I like what I see, in this case I do, I can tap Update Story and then confirm that I want to go ahead and replace what was there before with the new version. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And like that, you can see that the newly revised version has been changed. Now, importantly, many families want to make changes to the story as written, so we make it really easy to do that. You can just tap Edit Story in the bottom right, and you can change the text in any way you'd like. So my mom has shared a really beautiful story here. If I want to let her know how much it means to me, I can simply click on the smiley face button at the bottom of the screen, and doing so is going to allow me to send my mom a reaction message about the story she's just told, which will be emailed to her directly. So I'll go ahead and send that message now, and just like that, the message has been sent. Now, my mom is a really prolific storyteller and has been using Remento for a while. So if we close out of that page and head over to the stories section of the private website, you can see that she has recorded dozens of stories. Some of them are from her childhood. Others are far more recent, like a photograph of her dropping me off at college. We've also got a lot of images of family heirlooms that she's actually told the stories behind. Now, in her case specifically, I uploaded most of these photos into the prompt for her, meaning that she was looking at them as she told the story. But photos can be uploaded to the story after it has been recorded too, which is a really nice way to bring the story to life. Speaking of ways to bring the story to life, it's now time to go ahead and create our book. So I can go ahead and press Order Books on the left side of the screen and can see that I'm brought to a screen where I can customize the cover of my mom's stories. On this page, I can add a photograph to the front cover. I can customize the text, and I can also change the color of the book. And then on the next page, I can review all of the stories and change their order, whether I want to have them grouped chronologically or by theme or by some other organization. And then I can preview my book and pick a shipping address. Now, this is the flow if I'm ordering a book for the first time, but if I want to order another copy of an existing book, I can just click View Past Orders in the upper right corner of the screen and reorder a previous book to either the same or a different address. And within a few weeks, you're going to be holding in your hands your very own Remento book. Now, our books are color printed, they feature double thick paper, and they're 8 by 10 inches, meaning they are designed to really, really come to life. And you'll also see that each chapter in the book includes a QR code. And when you scan that code, you can see that it will play the recording that was used to write each story. And that way, no one in your family, whether it's in the next year or the next 100 years, will ever be without those stories or the voices behind each one. So that concludes our walkthrough of how our product works. As a reminder, as always, if you have any questions about how the product works, you can always reach out to our customer support team by emailing us at support@remento.co, and all of our customer support team will be happy to answer any of the questions that you have. So next, I'd love to share a series of recommendations about how you as a storyteller and a host and as a collaborator can get the most out of Remento. And while I could sit here and share my own personal recommendations, there is simply no better way to learn about getting the most out of Remento than by talking to folks who have actually used the product in their own families. And today we are so lucky to have two real Remento customers joining us today. I want to share a very, very warm welcome to Jeanne Black and Katie Leithead. So Jeanne, I would love to start with you, and maybe you could begin by taking us back to before you actually started using Remento, and perhaps you can share with us a bit about what made you interested in the first place in documenting your mom's stories.
Thank you, Charlie. And it was really nice watching you give the background on all of your story of wanting the life story of your mom put into a book, because that's kind of the same journey I have been on. I originally got my dad's story written into a book using Storyworth, and it had been a very long process, to be honest with you, where I had to send a prompt to my dad would type it up, I'd have to proofread it, blah, 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 all that. And my journey of looking for Remento started because I wanted to share my mom's life story. My mom has low vision, and my mom was not going to be able to type. And so I started looking for a product that would help me remember all of her stories. And I was so thankful to find Remento, because my mom's stories are now being written down, but she doesn't need to write them. And it is so user friendly, absolutely user friendly. I'm able to send her the prompt. She sits down, she records. We use an iPhone, so we can do this anywhere, and we do it anywhere. So we don't need a computer. With when I was doing my dad's book, we needed a computer to send it to him, and he had to type it up and everything like that. But I was so happy when I found Remento, because my mom's story is now written down. We're still in the process of finishing her book. But the inside, I was sharing a story with you earlier that my dad, a story we asked my dad was, how did he meet my mom? He was set up by his roommate. He talked about her sending him, she sent him cookies afterwards. That was the story. But that was all we heard. She sent him cookies. My mom's story, when she talked about, because Remento, the questions are so clever and they really make you think. And the story my mom shared was really about sending my dad cookies. That's how she got my dad. She talked about that. And Remento is so incredible that my mom does the audio. She spoke, into the audio, and within seconds the story was written up, and the title was the Cookie Connection. And it's just amazing. It's so easy to use. And because of Remento, my mom's story is going to be told. Priceless. That's a priceless gift. Priceless.
Yeah. The irony being, it was a gift that you purchased for her.
I purchased for her.
And in reality, perhaps the greatest gift is actually what she is providing for you and to your family.
Yes. Yes. Very powerful.
It's so exciting to hear a perspective from a host, Jeannie, in your case. I'd love to invite Katie to come into the conversation, who brings a different perspective as a Remento storyteller. And Katie, I'd love to ask you, before you received Remento as a gift from Kate, was documenting your memories and your stories something you had ever thought about before?
Absolutely. And just like Jeannie, I had actually thought for my husband to buy the one that you had to type. I explained it to him, and he was at the time was not retired. He didn't have buku time. He said, absolutely not. I don't have time for all that typing. So we just canned the idea. And I think somehow they got together this past July for a significant birthday of mine and bought it for me. And I don't have anything. My mother died like you, Charlie, when I was 7. I'm scrambling and scratching for anything of her. And it's not just, about her, but also who was she? And your product, Remento, is so easy. Of course, I love sitting down there and talking. I do like to make myself look a little better, not just in my pajamas. So it does take me a while sometimes, but I love Wednesdays. Wednesdays, it's like Remento Day. And so we have stories that we've heard from other grandparents, not mine. They passed away before I was born, but my husband's. We tried to video them with an old video camera, but I have no idea where those are. And so when I got this present, I said, oh my gosh, it's so important that I tell my children, and now my 8.5 grandchildren,
Mm.
fun things I did when I was a child, and climbing up in the tree when I knew I should be doing chores, kind of the bad side, the naughty side of me. They see me as the perfect mom and the perfect grandmother, and, the perfect wife, but there was a little naughty side. And I went up with Nancy Drew books and dried apricots in the tree house and spent the day up there and got out of doing any chores, and fun memories of my childhood, fun things. And your product is so easy for me because it does take what I say and it does clean it up a little bit. As you know, I kind of ramble. So I need that precision. But your support team has been great, because in the beginning, I was all over the place, and they were so kind and talked me through it. And now you do it over and over again. So it's not like, okay, I learned that, now I have to learn something new. You do it and then you do it again, and then they support you and they bring you into the process. And pretty soon it becomes second nature. But I want to hear my relatives' voices. Like you said, Charlie, I want my voice to be recorded. I want them to hear it. That's what I miss most about my relatives, and the stories they tell. And I think our traditions are so important. That's why they are traditions. And sometimes I'll tell my children something about a tradition or a person in my family and something about them. And my children will say, no, Mom, that's not how it happened. And they'll tell me their version of what they thought had happened. And I say, all this time, this is what you thought? So now I can get down the story and its accuracy about our traditions, our family. And it makes me feel like our family is important, two sides of the family. You have a mother and you have a father. But besides the fun childhood memories that they're asking me about, I also want them to know who I am. Who am I? I was a child. I was a sister. I am a sister. I'm a mother, wife, a mother, and now I'm a grandmother. And I want them to know who I am as a person. And now I'm getting out of telling all the childhood stories, which some of the children had no idea about. And if they did, it was wrong. And so now I'm clearing that up. But I'm also telling them my beliefs. I'm telling them what I stand for. I'm telling them that life is hard. And I'm trying to give them tools that they can grab onto after I'm gone. And they can maybe make it through some hard lessons. So I'm kind of on the second part of my book. I just got it in July. And I'm trying now to tell them, today I recorded why I'm so proud of my children, my adult children, and what did they do professionally that makes me so proud. I think when we get together, especially if you live in different cities, when you get together, it's like, hey, tell me what's going on in the present. What have you been doing? How's school? And I'm not going to go, oh, well, let me tell you about my values, or let me tell you the story from the past. And so this way I can record it in my convenience, and also they can listen to it in their own convenience. And maybe they might want to rewind it and hear it again, rather than hear it in a busy time where we're trying to get dinner on the table, or it's taking too much time, Mom. What do you want to say? So this way I can record it, they can listen to it, and I can remind them now of how proud I am of them, but also how hard I worked to get where I was and my accomplishments. But also, I'm really proud, Charlie, to tell them that I have values, I have beliefs, I have morals, and there's some tough stuff going on out there in the world, and I want to give them hope and give them tools that they can make it through. So as a grandmother and a mother, I love this present. It's just fabulous. And I love being able to put the pictures with it. It's making me go through some family albums and shooting some pictures.
It's hard to have a conversation about your values on a random Tuesday night, I would think, or in our case,
At a birthday party.
At a birthday party, yeah. And I love the idea, Katie, that you're creating something for the future for them, which will be a way of creating a legacy around these values. But what I heard you say is that the recordings that you're creating are teaching them things about who you are today in ways that are perhaps changing elements of your relationship and the way you see them and perhaps the way they see you. So, Jeannie, I'd be curious to know, as you've used Remento with your mom, what, if anything, has changed about either the way you see her, the way she sees you, or the greater kind of family dynamic?
Well, as Katie was saying, you learn so much as you listen to the stories. And again, my mom is the storyteller and I'm the one who gave her the gift. So as the storyteller tells their stories, as the host, you get to hear all the things. And you're right, Katie, at times, maybe the story, how I heard it, was not exactly what it really was. So there's friends I've learned about my mom that I didn't realize. I mean, she had a couple other friends that they went to camp together, they traveled together, things like that that I've got to learn about. I've got to get to know better. Um, there's adventures she did as kids. There's there was one story that one question that I loved that versus, tell me about your childhood. The question on Remento was, if you were to give a tour of the town you grew up in your childhood, where would you take people? What places would you go? Such a great question. Because instead of just, I went to that school, my mom talked about a park. My mom talked about a cul-de-sac where they rode bikes. My mom talked about a tree that during the hot days in Omaha, Nebraska, they'd sit under this tree. I mean, it's all these things that it's so much more. The stories are so much more, and you learn so much more. So, yes, I've heard the stories or stories I've heard before, but they're now more in depth.
Yeah.
Priceless. Priceless.
Yeah. And Jeannie, you mentioned briefly earlier that your mom struggles with low vision and how the spoken element of Remento proved to be really important for her in terms of being able to get these stories preserved. Can you share a little bit more about what her experience was like learning how to use the product and ultimately getting comfortable doing so?
Well, everyone on this call saw how easy it is to use. It's quite simple. I mean, that's the beauty of it. It's literally pushing a button. For my mom, I send her a prompt. She pushes the button. She normally does audio. I will get her to do a video at some point.
Yeah.
Pushes the button, and three, two, one, and we're off to the races. So for her, it's so easy to use. And again, we've always done it on her iPhone. And she just will sit there and talk into her iPhone. And like Katie also mentioned, my mom can talk. And I say, just talk the way and tell the story because Remento cleans it up, right? Remento cleans it up.
Thank God, thank
And
goodness.
thank goodness. And the beauty of it is it's cleaned up within seconds. When
And
my
you can
mom,
choose how much cleaning up you want. And then
Mhm,
I can actually go back in and actually edit the old fashioned
mhm.
backspace out. It's easy to clean it up. And sometimes I think their version's better than mine. So I leave it.
Well, you know what it is, as my mom will say, my mom every time will do the recording and then I'll read what Remento has done and she'll say, Remento caught the essence of what I was trying to say.
It's true.
And it's consistent pretty much every time,
Yes.
always catching the essence
Yes.
of what I'm trying to say. So it's amazing. It's an amazing
And no
process.
typing, no typing. And I've done journaling for those of you who say, well, I don't really need Remento because I do journaling. A lot of people don't want to sit down and read your handwriting and what you did and blah, blah, blah. This, they can listen to it immediately. And then they have the book to keep, and at their leisure, they can read it. And the other day, I answered the prompt, what was my biggest accomplishment in life? And I went through telling them how I went through a lot of steps and juries to become a fine art major in vocal music. And it was a long process. And they had no idea. They said, Mom, we listened to it. You sent it. So they got it immediately. They don't always listen to it immediately. But one of them said, I had no idea it took that long to be a voice major. I thought you just got on the stage and sang. And so I explained that part, and they were just like, oh, it gives me respect. That's all I can say is I feel they know more about me as a person and some of the struggles I've gone through and the happy times and the childhood memories. And they go back to my childhood home. They see the tree, they see the creek, they see my best friend Lynn, and I think they're kind of putting it all together.
So beautifully said, Katie. We have time for one more question that I'll ask to both of you. You two have been so amazing and, again, generous with your time. We have hundreds of people who are on this call. Some of them are storytellers, some are hosts, some are collaborators, and some are thinking about using Remento in their family. Katie, I'd like to ask you first, what's a piece of advice that you would have for someone who is just getting started using Remento with their family?
Stick with it. Don't give up. It is the easiest, and it's just think of the future and what legacy you are leaving to your family. And there's no price you can put on a legacy that you're leaving. And it's an exact legacy. It's your face, your expressions, your voice, and your stories. Stick with it. Do it.
Beautifully said. How about you, Jeanne? A piece of advice that you would have for someone considering using Remento with their family?
It is a priceless gift that you give to the storyteller, that you give to yourself, and you give to generations to come. What we all wouldn't give to hear our grandparents or great-grandparents, what we all wouldn't give to learn more about someone that we loved who passed away. It is priceless. Do it. Get it written down. Do it through Remento. It's simple. And also with Remento, with that QR code, not only are you preserving the written word, you're hearing the voice or seeing the video. Priceless.
Well,
thank you, Charlie, and your co-founders. Thank you all for being the brilliant minds that you are to come up with this. Thank you so much.
We so appreciate you saying that. A big virtual round of applause from around the world for our two amazing panelists, Jeanne and Katie. We are so thankful to have had you here today. We deeply appreciate you making the time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Charlie.
I'm going to go ahead and transition to our last two agenda items here. We are so excited to announce a product update that went out first thing this morning, which is the ability to change your prompt frequency and timing. That means if you go into your Remento account right now and navigate to the project settings page and click edit prompts, you can change on what days your storyteller or you will receive your prompt. You can also customize the timing of those prompts. So whether you want them delivered first things every morning or once a week in the afternoons, that is all possible in your project settings as of this morning. And just as a quick reminder, you can always send a prompt on demand by pressing record now in the prompts page. So our team has been hard at work on this feature for several weeks, and we could not be more excited to share it with all of you. So with that, we are reaching our very exciting Q&A. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. We've got a question from Darlene. Hi, Darlene. The question is it possible to have more than one photo with a prompt? I would say this is our second most requested feature after changing the frequency and the timing. The answer is, at the moment, not exactly. So right now there can be one photograph per chapter, per story. But this is a feature that is at the very top of our list and is something that we are looking to prioritize in the very near future. I would just say for anyone who's looking to have a book with multiple photos in each chapter, we've seen some of our customers create a collage and upload that into the book. And our books are 8 inches by 10 inches, which means that multiple photos in a collage will be visible when it's got a fairly high resolution. So Darlene, it's a great question, and clearly it's one that's top of mind to a lot of other people on the call. Next is, will we get a copy of this webinar? The answer is yes, of course. We're going to be sending out the webinar, a link to the video of the webinar to everyone who is on the webinar, if not tomorrow, first thing next week. So there will be a recording that you can watch over and over as many times as you'd like. Next question is, I would like to upload multiple photos for one story, but can't see a way to do that. That is it's a great question, and very similar to the first one. It's something that we want to be doing in the very near future. Again, a question that we hear all the time. Can I add a story at a later time? The answer is absolutely yes. So with the feature that we announced this morning, you can change the cadence of when you receive stories. So if Wednesday morning isn't a good time for you, you can change that to be Wednesday afternoons, Thursday evenings, whenever you'd like. But if at any point you miss a prompt, which happens, you travel, you get busy, these things all happen, you can always catch up. So there's actually no pressure to do to create a story like right when it's sent to you. You can just go into your email or in your text messages if you receive texts and click on that prompt and record it at any point. So the answer there is you absolutely can. Can we redo an answer after we submit it? The answer here is also yes. So if you're in the recording experience and you haven't submitted it, you can always do a retake. That's possible. But in this case, if you have submitted it, you'll just log into the private website. You'll click on the story, and there are a couple of options that live within 3 little dots on the page. And if you click on those 3 dots, one of them is to delete the story. The other option is to retake the story. And if you retake the story, what will happen is we won't actually delete what you created. We will just resend you the prompt that was used to make that story, and you can effectively re-record it. And then if you find that you like that new story a lot more than the old one, you can just delete the previous one. Next question is, can we record as many stories as possible, or is there a limit? The answer is you can record as many stories as you'd like during the year that you have access to Remento. There is no limit. Out of the box, you'll be getting 1 prompt a week. As I showed you earlier, you can record multiple times in a week by changing the cadence. You can also record on demand. We've had people who record hundreds of stories in the span of a couple of weeks. The one limiting factor is how many stories you can print into a book. Our books are 200 pages in the number of pages that you have pre-purchased when you have a Remento account. Books can be printed up to 380 pages for an additional fee. And if you end up with more stories than can fit in 380 pages, you can split your stories across multiple books. How do you add photos after a story is recorded? Another great question. In the same way that if you want to retake a story, you go into the 3 dots within the story page. You can very simply add a photo right there as well. So when you open up a story and you're looking at the text on the right-hand side, if you look down, there's 3 dots, and then there's also a little photo icon that has a plus. You can click on that button and upload the photo, either directly from your desktop or through the connection of Dropbox, or Google Drive, or Instagram, or Facebook. All right, Sherry is writing in and asking, will the stories be organized in a certain way? Would we have any control over the order? So the photos are organized right now in your website, your private website, based on the order in which they were recorded. But when you go to print them in your book, you'll be able to organize them in whatever order you'd like. You can organize them chronologically, you could organize them thematically, or some other order. And if you decide that you want to print an additional book with a different order, with a different set of stories, you can make that change as well. Tara is asking a great question. Multiple pictures in a story. It's not something we support yet, but it's something that we definitely are excited to very soon. Sheila is asking, I was given this as a gift. Does the gift giver have access to everything? There are 2 ways that someone can gift you Remento. If you were given Remento as a gift card, which means you received a coupon code, and when you use that coupon to redeem your account, you created on your own, the answer would be no. The gift giver would not have access to any of your content unless you decided to invite them. If someone bought you Remento as your host, meaning that you one day woke up and saw an email from Remento telling you that you were going to be receiving prompts starting the next week, the answer is yes. That person is picking your prompts and will have access to all of the photos that are added, the recordings that are created, as well as all of the written material also. All right, Ron is writing in, if I submit pictures to be included in my book, can I submit at any time? Have inserted at the right place as specified by me? Yeah, you can add photos anytime. So photographs can either be added, as the stimulus to inspire your reflection through adding them as a prompt, or you can add a photo after the fact by adding it to an existing story, and those can be inserted at any time up until you print out the book, even after you print your book as well. We've got a question from Jane. Can I control the chronology of the stories? Yes, you can. When you go to print your book, you'll be able to see all of the stories that are going to be printed, and you can adjust the order. You can organize them thematically by date or any other order that you'd like. Tanya is asking, can you audit your recordings after finishing, or do you have to start over and record? Yeah, at this point, you can't edit a recording. So once a recording is submitted, your two options are to either keep the recording or delete the recording. This is something that we hear from storytellers all the time. And Tanya, I'm going to take this back to the team. If this is something that you're interested in doing, being able to make changes to the recording is something that we could certainly prioritize in the future, but that's not currently possible at this point. Mary Lou, hello Mary Lou. Mary Lou is asking, how do we upload photos from our iPhones? So when you've clicked on a story from your iPhone and you're watching the story, there's a little 3-dot icon, probably on the top right of your screen if I'm remembering correctly. And when you click on that, it'll have a menu that opens up and it will say upload a photo, and you'll be able to upload the photo directly that way. Jane is asking a similar question. How do we add photos? Photos can be added to prompts to begin with, or they can be added to stories after they're created. Lori is asking, if I want to cancel my recording, am I able to do so? Yes, absolutely. If in the middle of your recording you don't want to submit it, you don't have to. And if after the fact you're wanting to delete your recording, you can simply log into your Remento account, the private Remento account, either through one of the emails that we send you, or through our website. You'll go to that stories page that I was showing you earlier. And then when you open up that stories page, there's a little 3-dot menu, and when you click on it, one of the options is to delete the recording. And that will also delete the written story as well. Karen asked, I think, a very similar question. Karen, if there's anything I missed in the nuance of your question, feel free to resubmit. Anne has asked, can a story be listened to before it is submitted? Yes, the answer is yes. When you're finishing up your recording experience, there will be a screen that you see that says either retake, submit, or play. And right before you hit submit, you can press play and listen to the story before you go ahead and submit it. Cecile is asking, adding pictures, can we go back to a prompt already done? And the order of prompts, can the host decide on the order before the book is finished? Yeah, photos definitely can be added, both to prompts as well as to stories after the fact. And yes, the order of the prompts can be chosen by the host, both the order in which the prompts are sent as well as the order in which the stories, which are what comes of the prompts, gets organized in the book as well. Yes. Eleanor is reaching out saying, I've not seen a story in a few weeks. Can I send off more than one per week? Great question. The answer as of this morning is absolutely yes. It's always been the case that you could send prompts on demand. But as of this morning, if you decided that you wanted to get a prompt twice or 3 times a week, including at a specific time, you would be able to go ahead and customize that. Okay. Next up, once the stories are collected, how does the editing process work? how much intervention can the clients have in the way that the stories are presented? So the stories are presented on the screen in the same way that they'll be printed in the book. And you as a storyteller, as a host or a collaborator, can help change those written stories in any way that you'd like. You can use our technology to regenerate the story. And then you can also go in and change the way that it's written more specifically, capitalizing something that should be capitalized that's not, changing a name, or changing the way a sentence is written, perhaps. If I find a photo related to a story that's already been recorded, is there a way to upload attach? Yes, there is. We've covered that. It's behind, it's within the stories page. There's a little icon if you're on a computer that says add a photo, and if you're on a phone, it's behind that little 3-dot button. What is the maximum number of pages in a book? So our books can be printed up to 380 pages. When you buy Remento, it includes a book that is up to 200 pages. So if your book is between 201 pages and 380, there's just a $30 surcharge to have that book ordered. Can I tell a story with my brother on the video, from Rachel? The answer is absolutely yes. You can. You could have as many people on the video as you'd like. If your brother talks, our technology is not capable of distinguishing between his voice and yours, so it likely won't understand the nuance between a conversation, but we have a lot of storytellers who sit down with their families and enjoy having a multiple person recording. Just be careful with having too many people actually speaking on the recording. If I scan photos in a collage, can I add them as a unit to the photo page? Susan, yes, 100%. That's exactly right. If you'd like to have multiple photos on a story, the easiest way to do that right now is to create a collage. And that's exactly what we've seen some customers do. So thank you so much for that. Frank is sharing that he would like to edit a video that he's already submitted. Frank, unfortunately, we're not able to do that yet. I'm going to take that to the team to see how we'll be able to prioritize that. That's something that we'd love to be able to offer in the future, but it's not currently possible at the moment. Nancy, will you eventually have a chat or phone-enabled customer service for questions? We definitely hope so. Right now, we do have a chatbot that's available. It's designed to answer questions as quickly as possible. We hope it's helpful. If it's not, we always appreciate knowing and getting feedback. And then phone-enabled customer support is definitely something that we would love to be able to offer in the future. Frankly, we've had an incredible amount of demand for the product and a really small team at the moment. So building out our customer support function is something that we are very excited about doing in the future. So thank you for flagging that, Nancy. We've got about 2 minutes left, so I'm going to try to get through as many of these 288 open questions as I can. As you're going through the questions, if you see things that you'd like to see prioritized for my answer, please go ahead and upvote those so we can be most efficient with time today. Emily is writing that she gave her parents Remento as an anniversary gift, and they've been taking turns telling stories. The account is connected to her dad's account, so the stories are always transcribed in his name, and you have to go back and you have to edit your mom when telling the stories. Is there a way to have both the names associated with the project? The short answer is, on Remento, if you want to have two storytellers telling stories, the best thing to do is to have two separate accounts. That's the way the product has been designed up until this point. We definitely want to be able to support a package where both parents are telling stories. We've heard that from lots of customers, but for now, one account, one storyteller is the way the product is designed to work best. Thank you for the question, Emily. It's something that we hear quite often. It's a great one. Margarita is asking, how flexible are the layouts? As a scrapbook and digital yearbook person, I've been frustrated using Shutterfly. I'm looking for something that will allow flexibility with layouts. Well, Margarita, the answer right now is that we don't offer a lot of flexibility. We keep it really simple just to make the process of creating these books as easy as possible. So we've heard a lot of people who are frustrated with Shutterfly because of how complicated it is. So we built our product to be as simple as possible, and for that reason, we did remove some of the flexibility. But I would say in the coming years, we are very interested in adding additional functionality, but never at the expense of keeping the simplicity of going from wanting to learn someone's stories to having them created in a book, as simple as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do 3 more questions, and then unfortunately we will have to call it for a day. But there are so many good ones in here. Matthew is asking, are there company plans that will change current customers to host their video and audio that have been uploaded. Matthew, I'm going to try to interpret this question in the way that I'm understanding it by responding with a couple of points. The first is that any person on Remento as a host or storyteller is able to download any of the content that exists on the platform. So you can create a book. You can also download all of the recordings, which we view as a really important piece of our commitment to making sure that every single person on Remento feels fully confident that everything that is added to our platform will forever and always be safe. And then going forward, the video and the audio, what we're committed to doing is making sure that for your family, it's available for as long as we are able to provide it to you. So, Matthew, if I'm not answering your question completely correctly, I apologize. Trying to do my best to read and answer at the same time. Maria has asked, can multiple collaborators record answers to the same photo prompt? Right now, Maria, the answer is no. What you can do if you want to have multiple people respond to kind of a similar topic would be to create storyteller accounts for each of them and then just replicate the prompts across each of them. Something that we hear a lot about from our customers and is definitely something that we would like to be able to accommodate more in the future. So it's a great point. Thank you so much for raising this question. It's something we think about a lot. And then Cindy is going to be the last question that we have time for today. Cindy is asking, after speaking my response to the prompt, how do I save my spoken response that will get printed, that will be the printed version, not the AI condensed version? I greatly prefer my version because it has the emotion in my voice and the actual words I felt to my story. It's great. It's a great point, Cindy. For every person like Jeanne and Katie who appreciate having their words distilled, there are other people who would rather have their words included in their book verbatim. That's why we offer you 3 different options about how our speech-to-story processes your recording. You can either include a clean transcript, or have a polished version created in the first or the third person. Cindy, it sounds like based on what you're saying, you prefer to have your stories created using the cleaned transcript functionality to be able to preserve the emotion in your words, which is totally understandable. You can change that on the individual story level in the way that I showed in the demo, or you can go into your project settings and make it so that every story you record going forward will be defaulted directly to the cleaned transcript mode. So with that being said, we have reached the very end of our presentation, and I want to thank you all for joining our webinar today. It's been a lot of fun. I want to shout out Jeanne and Katie one more time for being absolutely incredible panelists. So without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up our webinar today and say one additional big thank you for everything. Deeply appreciate it and have a wonderful, safe rest of your day. Take care, everyone.